Enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry Consulting. So inspiring, pushing you to your dreams.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of 60 Minutes With. I'm your host, Crystal Petry. On this week's podcast, we are going to learn about being a lawyer and a judge at the same time. If you, like myself, did not know that was possible, my guest today proves that it is. Welcome to the podcast, Judge Brittanie Holmes.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you so much for agreeing to be on this podcast. I did not know that you could be, well, I know you could be a lawyer and a judge. I didn't know you could do both at the same time.
Yes.
Is what I'm thinking. And I didn't know. How did you find out that you could do that?
So the way that I'm able to do it is I work as a judge part-time.
Okay.
So because it is part-time, I'm still able to have my private practice as well.
Okay. Yes. Again, I did not know you could be a part-time judge. Mm-hmm. How does that work out? Because I'm thinking part-time, mostly people are like 8 to 12, something like, Monday through Friday, 8 to 12. Is that sort of your schedule as well?
My schedule varies each week.
Okay.
But because of this position, so here in municipal court, we're appointed by city council. And so with that appointment, we have the main judge, which would be Judge Lively, and then the associate judges, which is myself and Judge Allison, who are part-time. And so we pretty much give him our availabilities each week. And he bases the court schedule off of our availabilities. Okay. And so that's how we're able to come in. Like if I tell him that I'm available 3 days out the week, then he'll schedule me on those days that I'm available. And that's how we're able to do it.
So, okay. Your position is not an elected position.
It's appointed.
Appointed by the city council, including the mayor, or just including the mayor. So how do you submit an application? How does that work?
We submitted an application, and then we went through an interview process. I believe I interviewed twice. I think we had the initial interview and then a second interview. And then after all of the candidates interviewed, myself and Judge Allison, we were both selected.
Okay. Now, so that means you don't have term limits?
No.
And you could just stay on as long as you want to, or do you have to re-interview or reapply?
No, we don't have to re-interview. It's pretty much, because we are appointed, it is a position that if city council does away with it at some point in time, then they could do that. But no, there is no term limit.
Okay. So what kind of lawyer are you, and what kind of judge are you considered?
Okay. So I practice criminal law. So I'm a criminal defense attorney. So I handle cases from misdemeanors on up to felonies where I represent defendants. I also handle wills and probate. So that's when, people pass and they need their will probated or have an administration done. I handle those as well. So those are my two main areas. I also do a little bit of family law, such as like CPS cases, things like that, but the majority of my practice is criminal law.
Okay.
Yeah. And here at municipal court, what we handle anything from city ordinances to traffic tickets to Class C cases like simple assaults or theft under $50, things like that. So here in municipal court, those are the types of cases we handle. The majority of the cases are going to be like traffic tickets that we get.
So are you considered a municipal judge?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So which one came first in your career? Were you a lawyer first or a judge first?
Lawyer, yes. I graduated law school in 2011 and passed the bar in 2011, so that's when I became an attorney. I became municipal court judge in 2018.
And why did you decide to become, I guess both questions, why did you decide to become a lawyer, and then why did you decide to become a judge?
Well, I had a teacher that always told me I was going to be an attorney. I didn't really believe her. I was like, no. Because I really didn't decide to go to law school until my senior year of college, because I was majoring in engineering. So it really wasn't until my senior year of college, I was like, oh, I'm going to go out on a limb and try law school, see what happens. And so that's pretty much how it happened. And then I went to law school, and I saw that was my niche. And so that's how that happened. And then with the judgeship, so my father, he's a judge as well, Judge Terrence Holmes. He was actually an associate judge here at municipal court. And then when he became elected, an elected judge, the seat became available. And so that's how the openings came up, because he and another judge, they both left. And so that's how the openings became available. And so I was just encouraged to apply and see if I get it. And by the grace of God, I did.
Absolutely. Now, you were studying mechanical engineering, and then your last year in college, you were just like, I'm just going to try it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so I interned, and I wasn't really feeling it. Like, I enjoyed the course study, but when it came to the internships, I thought to myself, I don't know if I could do this for the rest of my life, this particular field.
And you're talking about the mechanical engineering.
Right, mechanical engineering. And then I thought, well, even with a law degree, you can still apply some of the engineering work into law, such as like if you're dealing with intellectual properties, you know, you can use your engineering background. So there's still areas in law where I could still utilize my engineering background.
Okay, so you had a plan.
Yeah, I had a little plan.
You had a plan.
Little bit, yeah.
You went to PV, Prairie View A&M, which is a historically black college and university. Why did you choose to go to an HBCU?
I'm a strong advocate for HBCUs. Both of my parents went to Prairie View. My mother received both her undergrad and master's at Prairie View A&M. My father, he received his undergrad at Southern University and his master's at Prairie View A&M. So from a kid, we knew Prairie View. Like that was instilled in us. We would visit the campus, but it really wasn't until in high school we had a professor from Prairie View come. His name was Dr. Freddie Frazier. And he was a well-known math professor. And he was the one, when he came to my high school, and he encouraged us to come visit the campus. And so we went to the campus one weekend, and Dr. Frazier showed us everything, and that's when I really fell in love with the campus and with Prairie View and the lifestyle. And so it was Dr. Freddie Frazier. He's deceased now, but he really encouraged it, and from that day on, I said, I'm going to Prairie View.
Your law school degree, you also went to an HBCU, Texas Southern University. What do you feel benefits you received from going to an HBCU?
It's a culture. And I think a lot of times people get lost in certain environments. One of the benefits, obviously, is the acceptance at an HBCU. You feel at home. It's a place where you're accepted, and it's just a place where people encourage you. Pretty much all of my lifelong friends, that's where I met them at. You know, and from day one, we encouraged each other. We said, we're going to graduate, we're going to get it done, and from that day until now, that's how it still is. And so the biggest benefit is the culture, the lifestyle at an HBCU, and just the encouragement that you get there. Because they want you to succeed, and they're going to help you to succeed.
Excellent. Now let's talk about your upbringing. You're from Beaumont, Texas, born and raised. So tell me about that.
Yeah, born and raised in Beaumont. I graduated from Ozan High School in 2004. Both of my parents, well, my mom born and raised here. My dad, he born and raised in New Orleans, and then moved to Beaumont when my parents were married. At the time. And so I grew up in a good household. My parents, they did divorce when we were in middle school and things like that. But I had a good upbringing. Yeah, and I have an older sister. She lives in Houston now. She's an assistant principal. Excuse me. So it's just us two.
Oh, girls.
Yep,
girls run the world.
Yes,
at least that's what Beyonce said.
Right? Right? Yes.
Why did you choose to become a criminal defense attorney?
Well, it always interests me. I actually started off as a prosecutor. So when I graduated law school and passed the bar, my first job was at the district attorney's office as a prosecutor.
In Beaumont, or okay, Beaumont, Texas.
Here in Beaumont, in Jefferson County. And so I was a prosecutor until 2017, and that's when I branched off into private practice. And so I knew both sides. I knew the side of being a prosecutor, and I also understood the side of being a defense attorney. And so it was always something that interests me, you know, because you're fighting for a person's freedom. You know, you're fighting for their rights, and you want to make sure that it's done right. You know, you don't want anyone to be railroaded. And so that's what interests me with criminal law and criminal defense, just being able to help somebody.
And can you tell us what a prosecutor is?
Yes. So a prosecutor is a representative of the state of Texas. So like when you see on an indictment or a docket, it'll say the state of Texas versus the defendant. So the prosecutor is the person who, as a prosecutor, your duty is to seek justice. So if that is whether you're trying to get a conviction where, you know, punish the person for an offense where they could potentially be facing time in prison, sometimes as a prosecutor, sometimes justice is dismissing a case. It just depends. But as a prosecutor, you represent the state of Texas for whatever the offense is, to see that justice is served, whether it is convicting a person for a serious crime. It can be from a theft case up to capital murder. Yeah.
As a defense attorney, are there certain cases that you will not take?
Yes.
Okay, what are those?
Sexual assaults. I'm just not a fan. You know, those types of cases are rough for a lot of people. And so any case dealing with like children or sexual assaults type of cases, I try to steer away from. And if a person calls me, you know, it's no judgment against anyone, but if they call in regards to representation, I'll try to refer them to an attorney who I know may be able to assist them with them. And it's just a personal preference, and that's the good thing as a defense attorney. It's our preference on what type of cases we want to take. So if it's a type of case that I don't think I want to take, then I'll just simply tell the person I'm, you know, not willing to do it and try to refer them to somebody else.
That was going to be one of my questions. If you get to pick and choose which cases you can handle. Now, and I know I see it on TV, but I know it's real life where like they will court appoint an attorney. So has that happened to you?
Yes, I get appointed to cases as well. So with the cases I'm appointed to, of course, you can't pick those. Okay. So those types of cases, then yes, I represent the person to the best of my ability and all. But the cases in which I'm retained or hired on, those are the types of cases that I can pick and choose if I wish to take the case. But yeah, if you're appointed, then you're appointed. So you can't pick that.
Do you feel like court-appointed attorneys are overworked and underpaid and undervalued and everything that they say?
I would say undervalued because there's this myth or persona that court-appointed attorneys don't work as hard as attorneys who are retained or paid. And I don't like that because I'm both. I get court-appointed cases, and I have clients who pay. And I feel like I work the same whether it's paid or appointed. So I do feel like there's a black cloud over court-appointed attorneys because people just feel as though court-appointed attorneys don't work hard because they're not getting paid enough, or they're not getting paid by the client, they're getting paid by the court. So a lot of people do think that.
What are the qualifications, or I'm not sure, what are the qualifications for someone to receive a court-appointed attorney?
You have to qualify as indigent, meaning your income is below a certain threshold. And so if you meet those qualifications in which your income is below a certain threshold, then you can qualify to have a court-appointed attorney. Or if you're incarcerated, you qualify to have a court-appointed attorney, obviously because you're incarcerated.
Right, right. Have you ever had to, and I guess this is two questions, have you ever had to defend family or friends? And have you ever had family or friends come before you as Judge Holmes?
Yes. And a lot of times I try to steer away, from the family and friends. I don't think I've ever had any anybody come before me as a judge. I may have had some, I wouldn't say friends, but probably acquaintances, people I know. They got a traffic ticket. You know, they would come before me. Family, no, I hadn't had any family come before me. But yeah, I have had family or friends that I've represented before.
And can you do that? Is it like conflict of interest?
No, if just because I'm related to somebody, that doesn't necessarily make it a conflict of interest. Now, if I have anything to do with the case, then yes, that would be a conflict. But if it's a totally unrelated case in which they're just needing me as representation as their attorney, then that's fine. But for my dad's court, I can't practice cases in his court because we feel that would be a conflict because I'm his daughter, he's judge.
And what court is he in?
He is judge of County Court at Law number 2 in Jefferson County at the courthouse on Pearl Street. So any cases, if I get a client that has a case in his court, what they'll do is they'll transfer it to the other county court.
Oh, okay.
So to make sure we have no conflicts between, me and my father, any case client that I might have in his court, they transfer it to the other court.
Is it a conflict of interest as Judge Holmes if someone comes before you, traffic ticket or something under $50? Is that a conflict of interest if you know them, like family or friends?
No, if I don't know anything about the case, I'm just a judge of what's going on with whatever they've been charged with. No, that wouldn't necessarily be a conflict. No.
So if my audience, someone out there listening, watching, wants to become a criminal defense attorney, what are the steps to that?
First, you got to go to law school. Get your college degree. Finish law school, pass the bar.
Now, your college degree, you majored in engineering, so can their undergrad be anything?
Yes, you can major in anything.
Okay.
Yes, there's no specific major that you have to major in to attend law school. When I went to law school, I had classmates from basket weaving to engineering. It didn't matter. You can major in whatever you want to major in. It doesn't matter. And then you go to law school, you pass the bar, and if criminal defense is something that you're interested in, I would encourage people to go sit in the courtrooms, observe, see if that's what you want to do. Intern, with law firms that, may specialize in criminal defense to see if that's your niche, because you might learn that you either love it or you don't. And there's so many different areas of law that people can practice, which is the beauty of it. So if it's something that you're not particularly interested in, then you could try something else. But I encourage everyone, just explore and try to learn with internships, things like that, to see if that's something that you really want to do.
How long is law school?
3 years.
Do you have to take a test to get into law school?
We take they call it LSAT, Law School Admissions Test, and it's graded, and a lot of law schools look at the scale or the score that you make. So they do look at your LSAT scores in addition to your application.
And what are those scores? So what is do you know what the range is to get you
now,
into?
It's been a long time, so I don't really remember. I'm not going to lie, because that was over almost 15 years ago.
Okay.
When I took it. Yeah, it was, because I entered law school in 2008. Yeah. So I don't remember. It is a scale. Mm-hmm. It is, but what it is, I don't remember.
And what is the bar? We hear that word floated so much. What is that?
The bar exam is, when I took it, and it may still be, it's a 3-day long test.
3 days?
Yes. Which you have to know pretty much every area of law. There's a multiple choice section. There's an essay section. Yes, but it's a 3-day test.
Is it really that many questions?
Oh, yeah.
How do you study for a 3-day test?
It's hard. So the way we prepared for the bar, once we graduated law school, there is bar prep. They call it bar prep, where you can take, there's one company called Barbary, another company, Kaplan, and there's a couple other companies where you can do bar prep. And we pretty much studied the whole entire summer. Like every day, nonstop, because there's so many different areas of law that you gotta know so that you can pass the test. Yeah, and because they have the multi-state portion of the test, that's like every state, multi-state. And then you have your state. So it's a lot.
Why do you have multi-state?
Well, some people can practice in different states. So with law, a lot of times you're taking the Texas bar, but when you're in law school, you're not specifically just learning Texas law. Yeah, so that's why they have the multi-state questions where it's kind of just across the board what the law is. So yeah, it was the longest 3 days of my life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You brag, passed the bar the first time.
Yes.
Is that like normal? Is that normally how it is? People pass it the first time?
I would say majority do. And then there's a lot that don't. Like I had quite a few classmates who passed the first time and quite a few who did not. But you can retake it. I don't know if they put a limit on the amount of times that you can retake it, but you can retake it if you don't pass on the first time.
Is there a certain character trait or personality trait someone needs to have in order to be a criminal defense lawyer?
You need to have thick skin. You need to know how to communicate with people because as a criminal defense attorney, you're going to be negotiating on behalf of your client. You're going to have to interview witnesses sometimes. You need to have a good rapport with the prosecutors because that can go a long way. And just be approachable. Some attorneys feel like they have to be aggressive all the time. And sometimes in certain moments, you may have to be aggressive. But you have to read the room and know how to read the room.
When you say have a thick skin, what does that mean?
There'll be times where, as a criminal defense attorney, you're not going to please everyone. So you may have some disgruntled people at times, and people can say nasty things. So you just have to know how to, take what someone is saying and just keep it moving. Don't let it get to you, because a lot of times people, if someone says something to you, then, that gets to you, and that can drain you, that can stress you out. And I tell everybody, don't bring your work home. You have to know how to balance work and life. Because if you let your job as an attorney consume you, it's going to stress you out. Because when I first started out as an attorney, I let it consume me. But once I learned that you have to balance work and your personal life, you got to know how to balance it. Because if you let your work consume you, it won't be a good thing.
What are some tips you can give on how to do that? Number one, how to balance work and life as a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And number two, how to not allow it to consume you.
You have to take time for yourself. Like you literally, if you need to schedule a day or two out the month where I'm just not going to work, or I need to go away, even if it's just a staycation somewhere, you staying home. You have to, if you got to put it in your schedule, put it in your schedule. But at least take a day or two, at least if it's not monthly, every other month, take some time to know that when you're just going to put everything down and relax. You got to relax. Take vacations. Please schedule a vacation. I tell everybody, schedule a vacation, even if it's only once a year. Schedule it. And then it gives you time to recharge. It gives you time to relax. You can spend time with your family. So you just gotta schedule it.
Do you think we need more criminal defense attorneys?
I think so. It doesn't hurt to have criminal defense attorneys. There's always someone looking for representation. I know we definitely need more female African-American defense attorneys. And so every time I may get a young lady who wants the internship, I love it because that's showing somebody maybe coming to the area, and we definitely need that representation because a lot of times people look for attorneys who look like them, because that plays a part. Because a lot of times that people feel comfortable with speaking with someone who may have a similar background. And so I would say yes, it doesn't hurt to have more criminal defense attorneys, the more the merrier.
Why do you think there's such a low number of black female criminal defense attorneys?
I don't know, and it could be the area, because I have several classmates who are doing very well in other cities or states. I think it's just in this particular area, here in Beaumont or Jefferson County, we don't have many. And it could be because we're competing with Houston, Dallas, where a lot of people flock to the bigger cities. A lot of attorneys flock to those bigger cities. So I don't know. I think it's just a geographic thing more so than, because there are a lot of African American female attorneys. It's just not many in this area.
Why did you, because you were in Houston
Mm-hmm.
At Texas Southern University, why did you decide to come back to Beaumont?
That was my first job offer.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And when I passed the bar and I'm looking for a job, and Jefferson County District Attorney's Office, they offered me a job. And so that's how I came back home. Yeah. Yeah, because I was like, I got to start working.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's how I came home. They offered me, I interviewed, they offered the job, and that's how I came back home.
Okay. What is your personal intention with law?
Just to impact, positively impact lives, to help people regain their freedoms at times, to help people to rehabilitate themselves. Because some people commit crimes, but I don't want them to feel like that's the end of the world. We all make mistakes. Like I tell anybody, we're all one mistake away from being in your position. You just never know. And so my goal is to encourage my clients and just let them know, you made this decision. There are consequences to the actions and decisions that we make, but it's not the end of the world, and you can turn your life around.
Whenever you have clients, do they come in and say, I'm guilty, I did this, or do they lie to you?
Both. So I have some, they'll be honest and tell me, this is what happened, I did it. I know I have to face a consequence for it. What can we do? What is the best outcome that we can get? And then I have some, they'll lie straight to my face, but that's every attorney will tell you that. But I tell all my clients, if there's someone you don't want to lie to, is it your attorney? I mean, you can lie to everybody else, but at least let me know the truth so that I can figure out what we need to do to help you in this situation. So I have both.
How do you find out that they're lying?
A lot of times, evidence, videos, they'll tell me it happened one way, and then when we get the video, it's the total opposite. And so then I'm looking at them like, you told me this, and that's not what happened. So a lot of times it's really just when you get the evidence and you get all the discovery, you're like, okay. And then at that point, then they may change and say me what really happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about you becoming a judge, because you were a lawyer for several years, I assume happily, practicing law. What made you decide to become a judge?
Well, like I said, the position opened up for associate judges here. And I had a friend who called me, and she encouraged me. She said, hey, maybe you should try to see about being judge. I mean, you should apply. And so I thought about it, and my dad encouraged me as well to apply. And so I prayed about it, and that's when I said, okay, well, I'm going to go for it. And so I applied, and like I said, went through the interview process, and it worked out.
Since you are a criminal defense attorney and a judge at the exact same time, what takes priority for you whenever you have a case? Would it be your judgeship, or would it be you being a lawyer?
So if I have a case, like say in a criminal court in which I have a trial, that would take priority. Like I said, with municipal court, they're very flexible with our schedules. So if there's a week where I'm not available, where I have to tend to a trial setting, then that would take precedence. Yeah.
What are your duties as a judge?
So as a judge, I'm the overseer of the court. I hear cases, people come in, and they'll enter a plea, and they can enter pleas of either guilty, no contest, or not guilty. If they plead not guilty, we'll have their cases set for trial, in which they can either have a trial by a judge, in which I would overlook it, or they can have a trial by jury, in which have a jury decide whether they're guilty or not of the offense. And so as a judge, we're the overseers of the court, just to make sure that everything's done in order. and to make sure that everyone has their day in court and everyone is heard.
Do you have a bailiff here?
Yes, yeah, we have bailiff.
Okay. Does every judge have a bailiff? Is
Yeah.
that like a requirement you have to have a bailiff?
Yeah, and I think it's just for safety.
Okay.
You know, in case someone may act out, then you'll have a bailiff who is law enforcement, a law enforcement officer that'll be available in the court.
How old do you have to be a municipal judge?
I don't think it's an age. I don't think there's an age requirement. I think you just have to have the qualifications of having a degree or just meeting the qualifications of whatever city council needs. Yeah, but I don't think it's an age requirement.
Okay. Do they put that out in the, and I'm talking about city council, do they put that out in the newspaper, or how do people find out that there's openings for a
Yeah,
judge?
so the city of Beaumont has a website in which they'll post all of the job openings. Yeah, and so it was posted, the job openings were posted, and that's how people were, able to apply. So yeah, so the city of Beaumont, they have a website, and they post all job openings.
Okay. They posted like just a regular.
Yeah.
I feel like a judge, like that job is like very high, you know, very high in esteemed position. Like it requires more than just posting on social media.
Right. Yeah, that's how they do it. Yeah, they post it and you apply for it.
Right. Is there a certain character trait that someone needs to have in order to become a judge and remain a judge?
I would say, as a judge, you need to have a sternness about you. You need to have compassion at times for people, because you're encountering people from all walks of life as a judge, and you're encountering people who at times have not been dealt a good hand in life, or sometimes you deal with people who have had a privileged life. So you, as a judge, you have to know how to interact with certain people, because everyone is going to be at different stages in their lives.
Do you take that into consideration, their upbringing, how they were raised, when you make a judgment call?
Yeah, that comes into consideration. But here in municipal court, a lot of times, when people come in, it's mainly like traffic tickets, things like that. So we'll look at their history. Like you may have a person, like sometimes we'll get an elderly person to come in here, just got a speeding ticket, the first ticket they've ever gotten in their life. So they're scared, and so you look at, then you might have somebody got 50 speeding tickets before, so you have to look at that and make the determination on what you should do in those type of scenarios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What have you learned about yourself as a lawyer?
I've learned to be patient. I've learned that I'm able to interact with people, that I'm able to meet people on their level. I've learned a lot, because just like how my clients may learn from me, I learn a lot from them. Because people, and it's a forever learning process as an attorney, because you never know it all, because the law changes every day. It changes all the time, and so you have to be willing to adjust, learn, and learn from people. Sometimes just because I'm the attorney, that don't mean I know it all. And a lot of times my clients, they'll teach me something new.
What are some of the things that you have learned from your clients?
Some of them, because the laws change, sometimes they'll bring somebody to, you seen this new law? And so I'm like, well, let me check it out. So they'll show me some things, or if it could be like when we're reading through the case file, there may be something that I missed, and they'll catch it, and it could be something key to the case. Yeah, so little things like that.
Okay. And what have you learned about yourself as a judge?
The same thing. I've learned that it's good to interact on a positive note with people. Like, you don't have to be strict and stern with everyone, because a lot of times people, they just want to be heard. And a lot of times here in municipal court, a lot of times if people get a ticket or something, they just want to be heard. And so I've learned patience, a lot of patience with people, and allow them to express themselves. Because a lot of times they just want to be heard.
As a lawyer and a judge at the same time, you have come into people from all walks of life, all social, economic areas in their life. Has that revealed to you some unconscious bias that you may have had?
It may have. It definitely has taught me that you can't judge a book by its cover. It definitely has taught me that, because a lot of times, we may look at someone and make a conclusion based off of how they look. I think that's just natural, as human beings. But I think as a judge, I have learned in interacting with so many people and so many that you got to meet them where they are.
What in your upbringing, I know you said you had a great upbringing, what in your upbringing or your life or your head made you be like, you know what, I can be a lawyer and a judge at the same time? Because most people, I didn't know you could do that, but I don't feel like most people would like have that confidence and have that boldness to say, I'm going to do both.
Yeah. Just encouragement from my family, encouragement from my friends. Like my grandmother, she's 93 years old, and she's always encouraged me. And so I think that's just how it's been. I just had so many people encourage me to do it, because there was sometimes I was like, I don't know if I should do that, but they'll encourage me, like, you can do it. Like, go for it. Sometimes you just got to go for it, Yeah, and then, because there's other things I do too. Like, I'm a basketball official.
Are you?
Yeah, so I officiate basketball, so sometimes, people will see me on the court, they screaming in the stands, Judge Holmes, like, oh, Lord. So it keeps me going, and I just think if you can do it, do it. Give it a shot.
When they told you that you received the position for part-time judge here in municipal court, was it phone call? Was it an email? How did you?
We actually, on the second interview day, because we had got called for a second interview, and we were sitting in a room. I remember we were sitting in a room, because we were actually at City Hall. And then there was a glass door so you could see all of the city council members in the room. I don't know if they were voting or what they were doing. And we just saw them walk out the room. And we were like, what is going on? And then they called us and said, okay, y'all can go downstairs. And so we went downstairs into the chambers where they have city council meetings. And they made the announcement right then and there while we were sitting there.
Really?
Yeah.
What about the people that didn't get picked? Were they sitting there?
No, they weren't sitting there. It was just me and the other judge that were selected, me and Judge Allison.
Yeah. And what was your initial feeling when you found out you were
I was
judge?
elated. I was happy. I was shocked, like, wow, this is really happening. So it was a lot of emotions.
As a black woman, and we're in 2024, are people still surprised when you say, I'm a lawyer, I'm a judge?
Yeah.
And what do you say, or have you just gotten to the point with the thick skin that you overlook it?
Well, a lot of times it's a good thing. Like when they approach me, like, oh, I didn't know you were a lawyer, or I didn't know you were a judge. Like it's a good reaction from people, So it makes me feel good, like I'm doing something right. Yeah. So it's always, majority of the time, it's a good reaction from people, like they're proud of me.
Yes. Yeah. As a lawyer and a judge, and I just love saying that, at the same time, if you could create your own law that everyone had to follow, what would that law be?
Ooh. A law like that doesn't exist?
Yes. Or maybe it does exist and you can add your own twist to it.
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I got to think hard on that. I don't know. I don't know. I got to think. I'm going to have to come back to you on that one. Okay. That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay. Well, I have two more questions. Then we can come back to it. See if you've figured out something. What would be your piece of advice for my viewers, my listeners who are maybe thinking about entering into the field of law?
Go for it. Because it's the type of field that if you don't try, you'll never know. And if it's something, once you try, and it's something that you feel like maybe that's not your interest, then move on to something else. But give it a try. Go for it. It doesn't hurt.
It really doesn't.
No, it doesn't hurt.
It really doesn't. Okay, so who do you think would make a great guest on my podcast? but you have to help me get them on.
AJ Turner.
Okay.
He is he's a city councilman, but also entrepreneur, young, up and coming, advocate. He's well known in the community, very active in the community. I think he would be awesome.
Well, thank you. Now we're going to circle back
Okay.
to the law question. If you could create your own law that everyone had to follow, or maybe there's already an existing law you can put your own spin on, what would that law be?
Okay, so as a municipal court judge, because I get these cases all the time, that you cannot purchase a car without a driver's license. Because I get so many people in here that get tickets for not having a driver's license, and then they tell me, oh, well, I had just bought that car. And so I wonder how, I think dealerships should be required to have people to show proof of a valid driver's license before they purchase these cars. Because it blows my mind every time.
So you can purchase a car without a driver's license?
A lot of dealerships allow it to happen. Apparently. Yeah. Because we get it all the time. And they'll tell me, oh, well, I just purchased this car. And I'm like, how did you purchase the car without a driver's license? So that one, because it just boggles my mind every time I see it.
What?
Yes.
I never knew that.
Yes. And so I don't know if they're buying it off of, it may not be the big dealerships like Mercedes-Benz, or it could be one of those smaller dealership type of play. I don't know. But it happens a lot.
So across the board.
Yes, across the board. Please, car dealerships or whoever, stop letting these people buy these cars without driver's licenses.
And then they end up in front of you because they got a ticket for driving said car with no driver's license.
Yes.
That is a great law.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for being on this podcast. I'm blown away that you are a lawyer and a judge at the same time.
Thank you so
I just
much.
love
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And thank you so much for tuning in and watching. You can get this podcast and all of my other podcasts on YouTube Podcast and Apple Podcast. And remember, you always have time to listen and learn on the go.
Come on, let's go on a journey. Sit back, buckle up, enjoy the ride with Crystal Petry Consult.